They said WWE would never recover from this moment. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could prepare fans for the chaos that erupted the night Arissa LeBrock walked into the ring. From the very first second, the energy in the arena felt different. This wasn't just another debut. This was the daughter of Steven Seagal, Hollywood's toughest action star, stepping into the squared circle with the kind of presence that demanded attention. And fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. The lights cut out. A single spotlight hit the stage, and there she was, 6 feet of fury, confidence radiating from her as the crowd roared louder than they had all year. Social media exploded within seconds. That's Seagal's daughter. WWE just signed a real fighter. This changes everything. Arissa's in-ring debut was more than hype. It was domination. Her very first opponent, a veteran of the women's division, barely lasted 3 minutes. Every punch, every slam looked vicious, almost too real for scripted entertainment. Commentators didn't know whether to cheer or hold their breath. Viewers online began to speculate that Arissa wasn't playing by WWE's rules. She was rewriting them. And that's when things started to go off script. Backstage insiders later revealed that Arissa had refused to follow parts of the match plan, insisting instead on showcasing her legitimate MMA training. It wasn't arrogance. It was a message. She wasn't here to be just another performer. She was here to prove that real fighters belonged in WWE, and she was willing to break tradition to do it. The problem? WWE's higher-ups hated it. According to leaked reports, producers were furious that she ignored direction. Agents tried to talk her down after the match, but Arissa wasn't backing off. "If they want fake fights, they signed the wrong woman," she reportedly snapped. That single sentence spread like wildfire in the locker room gossip. And for the first time, management saw her not as a rising star, but as a threat. The tension grew fast. Superstars whispered about how she didn't respect the business. Some praised her authenticity, calling her the future of women's wrestling. Others wanted her gone. Fans couldn't get enough, and ticket sales spiked whenever her name was on the card. But behind the scenes, a storm was brewing. And then, just weeks after her explosive debut, something happened that WWE still refuses to talk about publicly. A shocking incident backstage, one that would change Arissa LeBrock's career forever, forced WWE officials to make a decision that stunned the entire wrestling world. The crowd had no idea what was coming. Neither did Arissa. But one thing was certain. The same company that brought her in as their next megastar was about to turn on her in a way no one expected. The backstage fight that sealed Arissa's fate, and the night her WWE dream began to fall apart. It was supposed to be just another night on the road. A live event in Chicago, a stacked card, and Arissa LeBrock set to face one of the biggest names in the women's division. But what happened backstage before the show would become one of the most infamous moments WWE has ever tried to bury. According to multiple insiders, tensions had been simmering for weeks. Arissa's unapologetic attitude and refusal to tone it down had rubbed several veterans the wrong way. Many felt she was disrespecting the business, skipping locker room etiquette and acting as if WWE was lucky to have her, not the other way around. Fans on social media were split. Some hailed her as a breath of fresh air in a stale division. Others called her arrogant, uncoachable, and too dangerous for scripted wrestling. The real trouble began when Arissa was asked to soften, a planned segment during the Chicago show, a spot that involved her dominating a fan-favorite superstar. Arissa refused. "I'm not going to fake a fight," she reportedly told producers. "If they can't keep up, that's on them." That defiance was the last straw for one particular veteran, whose name WWE has never publicly confirmed. But insiders say it was one of the top women's champions at the time. Moments before showtime, a heated argument exploded in the locker room. Witnesses described it as tense and ugly. Words were exchanged, insults were hurled, and then, according to multiple accounts, Arissa shoved the veteran superstar into a row of lockers. The room erupted into chaos. Crew members and other wrestlers rushed to break it up as security was called in. Within minutes, the story had spread through the arena. Fans couldn't believe what they were reading on leaked Twitter posts. "Seagal's daughter just attacked someone backstage," one tweet read. "This is going to blow up," and blow up it did. WWE officials were furious. Backstage physical altercations are rare and almost always result in suspensions. But Arissa's case was complicated. She was one of the most talked-about new stars in years. Her segments were pulling massive ratings. Merch sales were through the roof. Firing her outright could backfire, but letting this slide could send the wrong message to the locker room. So, WWE made a decision they thought would fix the problem. Arissa would be quietly suspended, and the entire incident would never be acknowledged on television. The company even edited her out of promotional materials and rewrote ongoing storylines to erase her involvement. Fans noticed immediately, and theories began to spread like wildfire. Is she injured? Did she quit? Did WWE fire Seagal's daughter already? But as the weeks turned into months, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a suspension. Something deeper was going on. Something WWE desperately didn't want the public to know. And when Arissa finally spoke out, she exposed secrets that would shake the company's foundation to its core. Arissa breaks her silence and reveals the real reason WWE wanted her gone. When weeks turned into months and WWE still refused to mention her name, fans knew something was off. Arissa LeBrock, once the company's most hyped signing, had vanished without a trace. No storylines, no interviews, not even a social media post from WWE. But Arissa wasn't done, and when she finally decided to speak, the entire wrestling world stopped to listen. She broke her silence not through WWE, but through a shocking, unfiltered Instagram live stream. "They're trying to erase me," she said calmly, staring straight into the camera, "but they can't hide the truth forever." The video was less than 10 minutes long, but it detonated like a bomb across social media. Fans couldn't believe what they were hearing. "She's exposing WWE," one commenter wrote. "This is going to change everything." Arissa claimed that her suspension had little to do with the locker room fight. That incident, she said, was simply the excuse WWE used to silence her. The real reason? She had started calling out what she described as toxic backstage politics, manipulation, and a culture of fear that kept wrestlers obedient and silent. "They don't want strong voices," she said. "They don't want someone who asks questions. They want puppets." She also revealed that WWE executives had pressured her to change her image, to tone down the tough, legitimate fighter persona that fans loved. According to Arissa, they wanted her to become more glamorous, more scripted, and less threatening to the established stars. "They told me to smile more. They told me to lose weight. They told me to stop fighting like I know how to fight," she revealed. "And I said no." The most explosive claim came halfway through the live stream. Arissa alleged that a top WWE executive had privately told her that the company didn't want the daughter of a controversial action star to be the face of the women's division. That single sentence lit up headlines worldwide. Steven Seagal, her father, had always been a polarizing figure, beloved by fans, criticized by Hollywood insiders. But now, it seemed his reputation was being used against his daughter. Viewers on social media went wild. Hashtags like #Justice for Arissa and WWE Exposed trended for days. Wrestling journalists demanded a response from the company, but WWE remained silent. The more they refused to speak, the more people believed Arissa's story. But behind the scenes, her decision to go public had consequences. According to insiders, WWE's legal team immediately began exploring ways to terminate her contract altogether. They wanted her gone, for good. And if she thought telling her side would save her career, she was about to learn that WWE fights back harder than anyone expects. WWE strikes back and launches a campaign to destroy Arissa's reputation before she can return. If Arissa LeBrock thought speaking her truth would set her free, she was wrong. The moment her live stream ended, a war began, and WWE was determined to win it. They weren't just going to ignore her accusations. They were going to bury her. The company's first move was subtle but powerful. Control the narrative. Within days, carefully placed sources began leaking anonymous stories to wrestling news outlets, painting Arissa as unprofessional, unstable, and difficult to work with. Suddenly, every tabloid and dirt sheet had a new headline: Arissa's diva behavior behind WWE exit. Backstage nightmare: why WWE cut ties with Seagal's daughter. Fans couldn't believe how fast the story flipped. One week she was a victim, the next she was a villain. Next came the damage to her legacy. WWE edited her segments out of archived footage, removed her merchandise from the online store, and stopped mentioning her in promotional content. Even her highlight clips on YouTube vanished without explanation. To casual viewers, it was as if Arissa LeBrock had never existed. "They're erasing her from history," one fan tweeted. "This is next-level petty." But the most brutal blow came from inside the locker room. Several wrestlers, likely under pressure from management, began making vague comments during interviews about rookies who don't respect the business and people who think they're bigger than the company. Though no one said her name directly, everyone knew who they were talking about. The crowd erupted into chaos online, with debates raging on Reddit and Twitter about whether Arissa was a misunderstood rebel or a backstage nightmare. Behind closed doors, the campaign was even more ruthless. Insiders revealed that WWE had contacted multiple rival promotions, quietly discouraging them from signing her. One executive allegedly called a major women's wrestling company and said, "You don't want that kind of drama in your locker room." Whether it worked or not, the message was clear. If Arissa tried to continue her wrestling career, WWE would make it as difficult as possible. Despite the pressure, Arissa refused to back down. In interviews, she doubled down on her claims, calling WWE's tactics corporate bullying and accusing the company of trying to silence her. Fans rallied behind her once again, flooding social media with messages of support. "We believe you, Arissa. Don't let them win. Expose the truth." But the war was far from over. WWE wasn't just trying to protect its reputation, it was trying to make an example out of her. And as the legal threats started piling up and the smear campaign intensified, Arissa realized she was in deeper than she had ever imagined. What happened next would take this already shocking story to an even darker level, one involving betrayal, sabotage, and a decision that would change Arissa LeBrock's life forever. The secret deal WWE offered Arissa, and why she turned it down. As the feud between Arissa LeBrock and WWE spiraled out of control, the company decided it was time for a different approach. The public smear campaign had damaged her reputation, but it hadn't broken her. Fans still supported her, journalists were still digging for answers, and the controversy refused to die. So WWE did what they always do when a scandal threatens to spin beyond their control. They tried to make it disappear with money. According to multiple insiders, Arissa was called into a private meeting with senior executives at WWE headquarters in Stamford. The mood was calm and professional, but the offer was anything but. They proposed a massive settlement, a 7-figure payout, a non-disclosure agreement, and a carefully crafted public statement that would clarify the situation. In exchange, Arissa would agree to never speak publicly about her experiences again, and she would officially retire from wrestling. Fans couldn't believe it when details of the meeting leaked online. "They're trying to buy her silence," one post on Reddit read. "If she takes the deal, we'll never know the truth." Arissa herself admitted in a later interview that the offer was tempting. "It would have been enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life," she said. "But money isn't the reason I started this fight." She turned it down. And that's when WWE's campaign shifted from aggressive to destructive. According to Arissa, just weeks after rejecting the deal, several major sponsorships she had lined up mysteriously collapsed. A fitness brand pulled out of a contract. A documentary project was suddenly on hold. Even her appearances at conventions were canceled without explanation. It was as if an invisible hand was pulling strings behind the scenes, a hand that wanted her gone from the public eye. The most painful betrayal, however, came from someone she trusted. Arissa revealed that one of her closest friends inside WWE, a fellow wrestler she had confided in, secretly leaked private messages to company officials, messages that were later twisted and used to portray her as unstable and volatile. The revelation crushed her. "It wasn't just WWE coming after me anymore," she said. "It was people I thought were on my side." Viewers on social media went wild as the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. Fans started calling it the blacklist. They believed WWE had effectively blackballed Arissa from the industry, using their influence to ensure she would never work in wrestling again. And yet, despite the betrayals and the losses, Arissa still refused to back down. "They can take everything," she told a reporter, "but they can't take my voice." What happened next would prove that. Because just when WWE thought they had finally silenced her, Arissa LeBrock made one last move. A bold, unexpected decision that turned the entire story on its head. The shocking final twist, and why WWE fears Arissa LeBrock's return more than anything else. Everyone thought the story was over. WWE had blacklisted Arissa LeBrock, buried her name, and erased her from their history. But they underestimated her, and they underestimated the global fan base that refused to forget. Because in the world of professional wrestling, the louder the company tries to silence a name, the more power that name gains. And Arissa was about to prove it. It started with a single teaser video on her social media. No caption, no explanation, just a black screen with the words, "I'm not done." Within hours, the internet exploded. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. Is she coming back? Where will she go? WWE is sweating right now. The post racked up millions of views overnight, and suddenly, Arissa was trending worldwide again, something WWE had desperately tried to prevent. Then came the real shocker. Arissa appeared live at a major independent wrestling event in Los Angeles, unannounced, unadvertised, and unapologetic. The crowd erupted into chaos the moment her entrance music hit. Fans stood on their feet, chanting her name as if she'd never left. The match wasn't even the main event, but it became the most talked-about moment of the night. "This is bigger than WWE," one fan tweeted. "This is a rebellion." The message was clear. Arissa didn't need WWE. The WWE needed her, and that terrified them. Industry insiders later revealed that WWE quietly reached out to Arissa's team after the indie appearance, offering to reopen contract talks. But this time, the conditions were different. Arissa would have creative control over her character, input in storylines, and complete freedom to maintain her real-life persona. It was a desperate attempt to bring her back into the fold, and an admission that their smear campaign had failed. But Arissa didn't say yes, at least not immediately. "I don't wrestle for companies," she told a reporter. "I wrestle for the people who believe in me." It was a statement that sent shockwaves through the industry. For the first time in decades, a major wrestling promotion was being publicly humbled by one of its own former stars. Today, Arissa LeBrock's name carries a kind of legend. To some, she's a cautionary tale, a fiery newcomer who clashed with the biggest wrestling machine on earth. But to millions of fans, she's something far more powerful, a symbol of rebellion, authenticity, and fearlessness in an industry that too often buries those traits beneath scripted storylines and corporate control. And that's why WWE fears her more than ever, because deep down, they know that one night, maybe soon, maybe years from now, those arena lights will go dark, the crowd will hold its breath, and the opening notes of her entrance theme will hit once again, And when that happens, the woman they once banned will become the biggest story in wrestling history. Because in WWE, they say no one is bigger than the company, but Arissa LeBrock proved that sometimes the truth is bigger than them all.